I'm the dude. So that's what you call me.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah, not since I was 10.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Come on to the coast. We get together, have a few laughs.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Can I return it if it doesn't fit?
It always fits. Eventually.
Welcome back, Movie Minglers. I'm Caveman.
And I'm Maggie.
And we're on episode 21.
Hey!
And we're doing Inception.
Bomb.
All part of Nolan Fest.
Pew, 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 pew.
One of my favorite Christopher Nolan films.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. This is probably up in the top 3 for me.
If you got rid of all Batman movies,
Oh.
how high would it be?
Second.
To what?
The Prestige.
Ooh.
The Prestige will always be one of my most favorite.
Prestige is such a good movie.
I mean, in all honesty, like, I haven't seen it in a hot minute, so it might change if I rewatched it, but I think that I would place The Prestige even above The Dark Knight. Like, that movie is so dear to my heart. So.
It's been a long time since I've watched The Prestige.
Yeah, maybe we should find some time to just fun watch it.
I would love to just watch it on our own time. Well, if you haven't seen Inception, stop the podcast, go watch it.
Yeah.
You should have watched it
on the big screen when it came out.
Ago.
Yeah. This movie is
a
fucking incredible.
Talk about a gotta see it on a big screen kind of movie, and big sound.
Big screen, big sound, and D-Box if you can, because this was my first D-Box experience.
Yeah.
It was a lot of just like floating and turning. It was a gentle movie for my first D-Box.
So Inception was written and directed by Christopher Nolan. Big shocker there. It was released in 2010. Music, this is like the Nolan team. This is what this Nolan team's together. This is some of my favorite Nolan films. Mm-hmm. You've got, of course, Christopher Nolan writing, directing, Hans Zimmer doing the music, and Wally Pfister. Fister.
I hardly know her.
He's, of course, Nolan's DP from Memento all the way to Dark Knight Rises.
I bet he's a DP.
Now, Christopher Nolan uses that other guy that we've talked about before, Hoyt van Hoytma.
Hoyt van Hoytma.
Yes, that's the guy. That's his new guy for all his crazy Tenet, Interstellar, Oppenheimer. I do miss this collaboration between these artists. Mm-hmm. Inception was certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course it was. With an 87% from critics.
That's that's a solid, B. It's almost a little bit shocking that it's not in,
B+.
the A range. B+ is, 89.
Yeah, critics can be so overly critical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's their job.
Yeah.
They just have to really, put on their snobbery glasses and watch a movie that way, which I hate doing. And then it's a 91% from audiences, which sounds more like it.
Yeah, I would have expected this movie to be in the 90s for both.
This movie was made for $160 million.
Wow.
Which is less than The Dark Knight. I believe The Dark Knight was $180.
Honestly, for this film, I know it's pretty practical effect heavy, but it's also pretty special effect heavy. I'm shocked that it wasn't more. I think that it's great that it wasn't more.
I think that shows how much practical effects he gets away with making the movie cheaper.
Nolan knows how to do it. If anybody knows how to do it, Nolan knows how to do it.
But it made $826 million worldwide.
Yeah, that's about right.
And then another $167 million from home media sales.
Damn.
90 of that, which is the majority, still going to DVD sales in 2010. DVD's still hanging on strong in 2010. Mm-hmm. Especially for a movie like this. But I think when this movie came out, this might have been the first movie I bought on Blu-ray before I got a Blu-ray player. I remember buying this movie and not being able to play it, but I wanted the Blu-ray because of how good the movie looked.
And this was also kind of before they started doing Blu-ray DVD combos where you'd get both in the same pack.
I think this one has the combo.
Oh, so you're saying you couldn't watch it on Blu-ray? You could only watch it on DVD?
Yes. So I could, okay. So I could watch the movie, but I couldn't play the Blu-ray.
Get it right, man.
But I paid the extra money for the Blu-ray that I couldn't watch. Mm-hmm. But eventually got a Blu-ray player further down the line once they became a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been going Blu-ray crazy since then.
Although we still tend to get the Blu-ray DVD combos sometimes.
Sometimes it's just Blu-ray and digital copy.
Yeah, that's true.
They're starting to phase out DVDs more and more. But now I'm starting to buy 4K copies of movies, and I don't have a 4K TV or a player.
Oh, caveman.
But I do have, but at least those come with Blu-rays. So I'm doing the same thing again.
Yeah. This is why people just stream.
This is why.
Yeah, like, I was actually kind of shocked, and I guess it makes sense, but I was kind of shocked when I walked into the living room the other day and saw you putting the Blu-ray into the player instead of just, like, pulling it up on Max. Because I assumed you were just gonna...
I went and looked at my shelf, and I was like, I know it's here, because nothing's in order on the shelf, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my records are at least in alphabetical order.
Yeah, our Blu-ray
My
collections...
Blu-ray collection. Some of it is by franchise.
Yes.
So there's a lot of MCU stuff together. There's the way I found it is I do have Nolan in one area. That's how I found it. And if I couldn't find it, I was just going to bring it up on Max. This movie won 4 Academy Awards. It won Best Cinematography, so good job, Wally Pfister. And then it also got sound mixing and sound editing. And then, of course, visual effects, because this movie had amazing visual effects.
So, this was the 2011 Oscars?
Awards, yeah, Oscars.
Who won for Best Soundtrack, or Best Original Score? Because, like, Hans Zimmer's score in this movie is fucking...
Actually, if you look it up real fast, it's the 2011 Academy Awards, and I'd like to know not only who won original score, but also who won for writing, or original screenplay, I should say.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross won for the Social Network.
Social Network. Yeah. That was a huge movie that year, and it's a good soundtrack. But
yeah.
I don't know.
It also went up against 127 Hours, How to Train Your Dragon, and The King's Speech. So The King's Speech probably swept with most of...
It was in between social... It was like back and forth. I remember this Oscars. It was back and forth between King's Speech and Social Network.
Yeah.
And so by the time you get to Best Film, you're like, who's going to win? Is it... Everybody was... I remember a lot of people thinking it was going to be Social Network that year. And then King's Speech won.
Yeah. I feel like any other year, this movie would have been like the one that swept. Because, I mean, this movie's phenomenally well done. I guess they had to really wait until Oppenheimer.
It was also super sci-fi.
Yeah. I mean, the plot is not the easiest.
The Academy Awards do not do well with superhero movies, sci-fi movies, horror films. And King's Speech and Social Network were based off of real events, which they're going to gravitate towards more.
No. Those movies were more Oscar baity than this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the King's Speech won for Best Original Screenplay, and The Social Network got Best Adapted.
Yeah, so this one got more of the technical awards.
Yeah.
Since it won visual effects, sound editing, mixing, and cinematography.
So I haven't seen The Social Network. Is the score, and I will have to eventually because it's on our list, is the score really better than fucking Hans Zimmer's, like, Bwom?
If you're just going to compare it to the Bwoms, then
Well,
no.
not just the Bwoms. I mean, the whole score.
No, the whole
is brilliant.
score is fantastic. I love Hans Zimmer's score in this film. I really do like Atticus Ross and
Trent Reznor's
music in Social Network, but better? We'd have to talk about that when we watch Social Network, because I
just can't believe that Hans Zimmer didn't win the Oscar for this. He didn't win the Oscar for Interstellar.
And those are
incredible scores.
And then Ludwig Göransson swoops in
to get it for Oppenheimer. Although, again, and I said this during Oppenheimer, there's no way we could have handled a Hans Zimmer Oppenheimer score. It would have been, like...
Too epic?
Too epic. It would have blown the faces off of some fucking people, so... And I would have been one of those people. So it's probably for the best. Yeah.
Be like the Maxwell guy.
It would 100%. I love you so much. I had him in my head, but I couldn't remember the name of the... it was gonna be like the guy sitting in the chair with the music.
Even after 500 plays, our high-fidelity tape still delivers high fidelity. Accent, It's worth it.
Oh, I love that you know that.
Anyway.
You're the best.
I'm a nerd. This movie stars, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio, who... This isn't my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
I buy Leonardo DiCaprio in this movie. I do not buy action star Leonardo
Once he
DiCaprio.
turns into an action hero.
Once he turns into, like, the action hero who's able to shoot more people than...
He is shooting dreams, though. It's not like
no,
a
because there's some real life shit, too.
Yeah, he's running. He's not really shooting.
No,
he punches and...
Yeah, but not only is he running, but he's running faster than everybody else. He's able to get away from them. This movie is Leonardo DiCaprio action star, and I don't buy it. I like him in the moments where it's like him and Maul. I like him in the quieter moments, the more dramatic moments. I don't buy him as an action star. I just don't. Like, Tom Cruise, yes. Glenn Powell, sure. Like, I buy certain actors as action stars. Like, Keanu Reeves, absolutely. I just wasn't buying it off of DiCaprio.
We also got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I'm always happy...
Always so happy to see.
When a JGL is in here, and also not my favorite of his. Well,
he's charming in this movie.
I like him in this more than I think I liked him in The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As Robin.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, where is he?
He's sleeping on the shelf there.
Oh.
Yeah. Producer Robin's taking a nap. I really like him in Looper. I think he did a great job in Looper. I think he does a great job in this. He just doesn't do a lot. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a more fun actor to watch in action scenes than Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the whole floating through the hotel rooms
so awesome.
scene is just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, the fight in the hallway when everything is turning.
And knowing that he's on wires and
JGL
tumbling
was
through that set.
Amazing in that messenger bike movie with Michael Shannon.
That was still...
It's so fucking stupid.
It was a dumb movie, but he's good.
Good movie.
He's good in it.
Yeah.
You got Elliot Page is also a great actor.
Beautiful in this movie. He is so beautiful in this role. And I know
does a great job.
Pre-transition.
Sure.
But just stunning hair and makeup in this film. They
do a lot in this one.
They do a lot. Yeah, like just absolutely gorgeous in this movie. And does a really good job, too. I find that, like, Elliot Page in, like, X-Men movies is a little...
That's how I got to know who they were as an actor. Yeah. And then you get to see them later in, like, Inception and Juno.
They do a better job in Inception, I think. I think that's their best acting that I can remember. I haven't seen a lot of their stuff.
It's been a while since
post-transition.
No.
I haven't watched The Umbrella Academy. I probably won't, but...
I tried getting into... I have a lot of friends who are into The Umbrella Academy, but I was more into Doom Patrol, which is essentially the same thing.
Yeah. But I mean, good for Elliot Page. We stan and we love, but absolutely gorgeous in this movie.
This absolutely is my favorite Tom Hardy role.
Yes. Same.
I think he's...
so charming. He's so much fun. The gay energy between him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like those two are lovers, and you cannot change my mind.
Definitely the funnier Tom Hardy. He's funnier in this than he is in Venom.
He's having so much fun, and he's just so charming, and he's not
trying
weird.
to. He's not trying to put on some.
Like
not wearing a mask.
Not wearing a mask. Like he's just handsome, fun Tom Hardy, and I'm here for it.
I believe this was the first movie I ever saw him in.
That
I knew.
That you knew, yeah.
Because I know he was in... I know I've seen him in things before I watched this movie. I just didn't know who he was. So when he shows up in things like... I think he was in Black Hawk Down, right?
Everybody was in Black Hawk. Black Hawk Down is just like Band of Brothers. It's like if you were a young character actor, you were in Black Hawk Down. And he was... he actually... He did have a baby role in Band of Brothers, too. Tom Hardy is in Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
So not only was he in one Everybody's in this movie, but he's in two of them. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, that was after Inception. He was in Sucker Punch.
I mean, he was in Layer Cake, which I remember watching, but I didn't know who he was.
So this is the first time that you really knew him. Sweeney Todd, which I never saw. Oh yeah, Star Trek Nemesis.
That's right. That's right. He's the villain. He's the Picard.
Yeah, he's the Picard clone.
The clone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea who that was
No, I
when I
didn't
watched
either.
that movie. Even though that one came out in 2002, so
Yeah.
8 years before. Had no idea who that guy was who's playing a young Picard clone.
I only ever saw that movie once in theater.
Yeah, it's only worth one watch ever. But
yeah, so he comes along in Inception, and he's so charming and lovely and funny, and then he just gets kind of weirder and weirder after that. Which, you know what? Like, look, the guy's... I can't even say that he got weirder and weirder, because that's just how he acts, right? He gives different roles, different personas.
Goes for it every
he goes
time.
for it every time.
And he goes super hard every time.
But, like, this is the one that I like him the most in, because I like how utterly charming and effervescent and effortless he seems to be.
Then we got Ken Watanabe.
Oh, who is so goddamn hot.
Fucking such a great actor.
Such a great actor, and so goddamn hot.
The Last Samurai was by far one of my favorite.
That is a great movie.
Not only one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies, but maybe even my favorite Ken Watanabe movies.
He's wonderful in Memoirs of Geisha. He's wonderful in everything. Anytime Ken Watanabe pops up, I'm so happy to see him, because phenomenal actor and fucking smoke show. Oh my god, that man is gorgeous.
Cillian Murphy coming back for a third time in a Nolan film, but a different character now than
and
just the Scarecrow.
more acting time too.
More acting
screen
time. Batman Begins, he got a lot to do.
It's been a minute since I've seen Batman Begins.
Dark Knight Rises, tiny roles, but this is his first, like, really big, meaty role for a Nolan film, because he's playing a main character, not one of the. I mean, he's the Mark.
He's the Mark, yeah.
And
he's good in it. He's young baby Cillian Murphy. He's entertaining and sweet, and his character is the grieving son of a billionaire, like, father who didn't love his son at all, like, seems to have no care for his child whatsoever. It's a layered performance, but it's a good one. He has some funny lines, and I enjoy Cillian Murphy in this. I'm glad that they didn't set him out to be the villain, like the major villain. In fact, that's Maul.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And then you got Pete Postlethwaite. You really, like, sometimes you forget what you've seen a person in.
Yeah.
And then when you look at stuff up, you're like, oh yeah. Like, for instance, The Lost World of Jurassic Park, where he plays the I guess he's supposed to be Australian, or at least
like the Australian, like, gamer.
Yeah. And
he's and like big gamer, not like video gamer.
Yeah, big game. Trying to get himself a T-Rex.
He was one of those just prolific British character actors who you've seen in hundreds of things. He died a couple years after this movie came out, and
I remember that.
Yeah, and he's just, he had those incredible cheekbones and that very strong face. He had that look, and a great character actor. Again, Nolan loves his character actors.
He also plays a big part in The Usual Suspects, which is
a movie I've never seen.
And then Michael Cain.
I'm Michael Cain.
I love Michael Cain. Every time he shows up in an old film, I'm like, of course
he's there.
I can understand why he wasn't in Oppenheimer, because it's supposed to be mostly an American film.
Yeah, there really wasn't a role for him.
Even though Cillian Murphy is not American, but he...
Have we ever heard Michael Cain do an American accent?
I personally have not heard him ever do an American accent, but I bet he could. I bet he could. He's a talented guy, and I bet... Maybe not now. Maybe he wouldn't try as hard to nail it down, but I bet... And who knows? I haven't seen every Michael Caine movie. Maybe there is one out there. Listeners, if there's a Michael Caine movie out there that you know where he does a good American accent, I know a lot of British actors just go straight for Southern because it's the easiest one to go for. Anyway, point is...
Hit us up.
Yeah, write us. I want to know some Michael Caine movies where he isn't speaking in an English accent. Then we got Marion Cotillard, who is a stunning woman.
Absolutely gorgeous. And she always kind of plays a slightly unhinged woman, but she's so good at it.
I think I've only seen her in this and The Dark Knight Rises. Great performances in this and Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, she plays a good unhinged woman.
Yeah. Well, and then, like most... We talked about this in some other Christopher Nolan films. I think when we were doing our Oppenheimer one, we talked about how much Christopher Nolan loves killing off women.
Yes, he likes to fridge women, female characters, pretty quickly.
Especially, and it's usually because they're in a relationship that they can't be in a relationship.
Yeah.
At least, yeah, we went through a whole thing about Christopher Nolan films and each woman who is either killed off or kills herself because she can't have
the guy that she wants.
The man that she
wants. For some reason or another. And this is another glaring example of, it's not that he can't write women, it's just that he likes to fridge them.
Giving the main lead something to grieve about and work towards solving.
That's all kind of the sadness of most of his male characters is I've lost the woman I love.
The woman I love, or I can't have her, or
it would be nice to see Nolan get out of that. And I know that he hasn't written every single one of his things. His brother's written a lot, and he's had collaborators, but still, it would be nice. Christopher Nolan, I know you're listening to this little podcast, Sir Christopher, if I could call you that, Sir Nolan. Please write a female lead character, or just write a woman that isn't subjected to her husband.
Shit her husband's doing.
Because Adrienne, how do you say her name? Elliot Page's character?
Michael Cain says it once, and I was just like, what?
It's kind of a weird name.
Can you say that name again?
Ardeen.
Arla Dean. I don't know.
Yeah.
He says it once, and then that's, I think, the last time you hear it.
Elliot Page's character,
yes.
Which, this was pre-transition, so is a woman. That character is honestly one of the best female characters that I've ever seen come out of Nolan, because, she's there to be the architect, she's there to create the dream, and she's there to kind of force Cobb, who is Leonardo DiCaprio, to be a better person, right? To admit what Maul is doing to him inside of his head, and thus help the mission go smoother. She's got an agenda, but her agenda is just to be there to help, right? And she's very clever, and she's very strong, and she's smart, and Kitty from Oppenheimer's a brilliant character who is very smart, but she's kind of, her whole thing is just, she's the wife, right? And Anne Hathaway too is a great character in Inception or Interstellar, but her whole thing is still love, right? She can't be with the guy that she loves. So I'm just saying, come on, man, write a female character that's a normal person.
Normal person. Write something normal, dude.
Well, no, write someone that's not tragic.
Write somebody whose entire existence doesn't
hinge on a dude.
Yeah.
You can write female characters that don't have tragic backstories, although I never have. But you can write female characters that aren't tragic and lost because of a man.
That's the way to put it, because every character has to have some kind of tragic backstory to make them interesting.
Yeah,
in film, at least. Mm-hmm. You got to have something that you latch on to when you're watching something.
We also have to acknowledge the big white elephant in the room, which is...
It's summer vacation.
It's summer vacation. So our kids are in our tiny little podcast studio, which is also called our living room. And if you hear the occasional click, bump, or noise in the background, it's just our kids.
Kids celebrating a win or something.
Yeah, look, guys.
We're a family.
We're a family, and this is a very small production space. So we're doing our best.
Real quick, I wanted to talk about something that I found when Nolan was first putting this movie together. First of all, it took him 10 years to write this script. Mm-hmm. He had originally envisioned Inception as a horror film.
Which I could see.
When I read that, I was like, why hasn't Nolan done a horror film yet? I would love to watch a Nolan horror film, a proper rated R.
Oppenheimer's kind of a horror film,
from a certain point of view. But he eventually wrote it as a heist film. When he first started thinking about making this movie, it was certain movies had just come out, like Dark City and The Matrix and The 13th Floor, which all have to do with the world around you may not be real. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen those three, those are really good to check out, and also just to see where he got his idea for this movie. When he pitched this movie to Warner Brothers, he knew he was going to need a lot of money, and at the time, he had not made any really big films. He decided, before I do this, I need to get some bigger budget film, because, he had done Memento and The Robin Williams.
Yeah, 1 hour photo.
No. The one that's in Alaska. Insomnia.
No. Yeah.
He did that one. He did Prestige already. He wanted to get some bigger budget movies under his belt before he went on to something this massive. So he did Batman Begins and Dark Knight. And that gave him the experience, he thought, to be able to make an even bigger budget film. So then once he was done with The Dark Knight, he decided it was time for Inception. Because he knew that if we're making a movie about dreams, it's got to be on a massive scale, because you can go anywhere in a dream.
Dreams are,
endless.
Yeah. Mine are endlessly terrifying and confusing, to the point where I actually take medicine for my dreams because I have such frequent nightmares, horrific, just bone-shattering nightmares. And so, yeah, me and the dream world don't get on too well because my dreams are a consistent range of terror and weirdness that I wake up from daily and just go, what the fuck?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's great. Like, sometimes I have really fun dreams where I'm, like, making out with Viggo Mortensen. But those are few and far between, and most of the time it's I'm the only server in a restaurant, and they keep singing me large tables, and I wake up crying. So, fun PTSD dreams. They're great.
Oh, boy. So, I'll go for it.
I was just going to say, one thing that I feel about this movie deeply in my bones is that the Leonardo DiCaprio's character's name is Dom Cobb. And that's a stupid name.
I think most of their first names, because they all call each other by their last names.
Yes, and that's when they refer to each other. I mean, they don't really say each other's names all that often.
No.
But, like, just calling him Cobb, that's great. But then every once in a while, somebody's like, Dom.
Dom.
And I'm like, wait, what?
Who's Dom?
Who's Dom? And Dom Cobb. Dominic Cobb is not better. Like, ugh, Sir Christopher. Dom? Question mark?
Yeah, you think about that character, Leo's character, and you're like, Dom?
Yeah, can you imagine
Does he even
Leonardo
look like
DiCaprio looking like a Dom? Dominic, maybe.
Dom.
But Dom?
Cobb works, even though
Yeah.
every time they say Cobb, I'm thinking like corn on the cob or Cobb salad or...
Well, Cobb's just Cobb,
I know.
right?
But in the moment, Cobb. Hey,
and
Cobb.
When I think of Dom, I think of, Fast and Furious. That is a name that fits
Dominic.
Vin Diesel.
Yeah, that is a Vin Diesel.
That's a Vin Diesel name. Dom Cobb is not a
Leonardo
No, it's not.
This is also one of Nolan's only movies that doesn't really jump around a lot. I think Insomnia was pretty straightforward. Prestige jumps around a little bit just to try to confuse you on what's happening. As far as time, like a linear timeline goes, I think this
because
Inception,
what are the dreams versus what are the memories of his children? There's not a lot of, but there's a lot of jumping around in different worlds.
Sure.
And but there's not a lot of jumping around in
I was
time.
really nervous. I remember when I watched this in the theaters, I was really nervous about, because the way it starts jumping. And you don't know what is happening.
No, the first viewing of this movie, you're like, what?
First you see a really old Ken Watanabe,
yeah.
and they're having their conversation, and all of a sudden, he's young again.
So yeah, no, it does jump around then, because...
It does, but then once they're out of that dream and on the train, you're like, okay. And then as the movie goes on, because they don't really go back into dreams until they're training, and then they actually start working on the main heist. You kind of get the sense of how the story's going, and it's not too confusing by the time you get through exposition and onto the heist.
Even watching it the other day, which is probably like the 5th time I've seen this movie, I was still a little confused about who, where, and why. But...
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, like...
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe it's just because I'm used to some really outrageous Nolan films that really use time in a weird way. I'm just like, oh, this one's pretty tame compared to those. I do appreciate something that this film did was not try to explain the technology they're using.
Yes. You just accept it.
That is a device.
Uh-huh.
It's able to do this dream thing. There are rules that they eventually tell you about the dream. There are safeguards that people are trained to counteract any kind of dreams or people entering their dreams and trying to steal information from them. So they've got like dream cops or dream security, and
Dream Cup.
Hey, sounds like a great film.
That really does actually sound like a pretty legit, 80s movie. Where the time cups.
But yeah, it's nice to just, when you don't have to tell the audience any specifics about any kind of technology. I think we talked about this before with something else, something where they're just like, this is a thing, and we don't need to tell you because you're just going to accept it, and it's fine.
I do appreciate that.
I think Tron did it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we necessarily talked about it, but like the technology used in both Tron movies to get them in the computer is never talked about. I know that originally they were trying to like teleport an apple in the first Tron. Yeah,
it is sort of nice that you can just go into a movie and they don't have to like, you can sit back and wonder, well, how does that machine work? But they're not going to waste the time. There's so much packed into this movie, and this movie runtime is what, like 2.5 hours or thereabouts. So there's so much packed into this movie. I didn't need a 5-minute explanation of like, this suitcase has drugs in it, the drugs make it
what they do really well is the exposition on how the rules of the dream world, or the rules of a heist, I guess, and it's all done through Elliot Page's character just being, since she's an outsider, bringing into the group. Yeah, she's then the rookie, and so all the exposition's told to her in a way that can also be told to the audience.
I was too busy watching this movie to write down notes, because I spoke a little bit in our Tu Wong Fu bonus episode, which if you haven't heard, feel free to go back and pull up and listen after this one. It's a delightful little one. Watching movies for me has been changed entirely because of this podcast. We are 21 movies into our main list. We're a handful of movies in from our bonus lists that we're doing. And seeing these movies again with the kind of more constructive eye that I have on it now, of the filmmaking, of the cinematography, of the acting, of everything. I'm seeing these movies again for the first time, which is really cool, right? Like, I've seen Inception quite a few times, but like somehow watching it with a fresh brain is, and with the mindset of talking about it on the show has changed how I view movies. So I am getting more engrossed into them, right? I'm putting my phone down. I wrote a ton of notes for Tu Wong Fu, but I didn't write a ton of notes for Inception because I just wanted to watch Inception. And I wanted to take it in, and I wanted to see the beauty of the physical and the special effects. I wanted to just enjoy the acting, which is why I was like, Leonardo DiCaprio, really? Really? Okay. And so it's a great thing, but it does make it a little bit harder because my eye is a little bit more critiquey than it used to be, and I'm enjoying movies again. So even movies that I've seen before, it suddenly feels like it's a first time, or maybe the second time. Yeah, I'm enjoying it thoroughly, but I didn't write down a lot of notes on Inception because I was too busy just watching Inception. For instance, the scene where Cobb is walking Elliot Page's character around Paris in her dreams, right? She starts to mess with the laws of the dreams, right? She starts to kind of like see the boundaries and push past them a little bit. So, so she starts to
bends the city in half.
Yeah, she bends the city in half. A lot of the people, in the dream world are aware, like, that the subconscious, which is populated by, dream people, becomes aware that somebody is messing with the dreams. So then everybody starts staring at her. I love that moment when she's on the Inception bridge, which is the only thing Ben Wyatt wanted to see in Paris. Because we just watched that Parks and Rec episode where Ben and Leslie...
That's the bridge from Inception.
Honey, the Eiffel Tower is right there. Yeah, but that's the bridge from Inception. That scene with the bridge with the mirrors is so beautiful and so practical. Right? Like, it was so neat to see those mirrors opening and closing.
It's a great shot.
Like, what an incredible shot.
Especially, bringing the two mirrors together. There's no camera in the reflection, which is easy to... And not easy, but it's not hard to get rid of.
It just shows, like, obviously they set those mirrors up for real.
Yeah.
And it's just such a neat shot. Like, I kind of had forgotten about that moment. But now that moment's what stuck with me, right? Or watching Joseph Gordon-Levitt be, do those incredible sequences where he's on wires the whole time floating down that hallway. Or he's, the hallway's spinning and the camera's staying still. But these guys are bouncing around the walls and the ceiling and the floor, fighting each other. Like, fuck, that's cool.
It's very fun to watch. Every time I watch it, you have those certain sequences that you're looking forward to seeing again because they are so well done and still so, like, how did they do that?
But it was also a lot of fun to remember the smaller moments, like them on the bridge with the mirrors. Or I think I never fully understood what Mal had set up for Cobb before this viewing, because maybe I wasn't paying attention as much, or maybe I just forgot. But the way that she went out of her way to frame her husband for her murder. Mm-hmm. Like, that
to force him to
kill himself with her.
Yeah.
Is insane.
She took everything from him, including their children.
Yeah, including the kids.
Like, even if he were to, like, the idea of, you can never see, I did such a thing that frames you for your murder, but it also made it so that you could never see your children again. Mm-hmm. So what do you have to live for?
Yeah, like, I couldn't imagine doing that to you, but I also didn't spend 50 years inside of my own brain over the course of one night, slowly losing my goddamn mind. I think that's what terrifies me the most about this movie, is the idea that...
to plant something so deep into your subconscious.
Yeah.
An idea. Like, for instance, the world you're in is not real.
Yeah.
As easy as just spinning a top in a safe.
Well, also just the way that, like, time passes, right? Because we've all had dreams that have felt like they've gone on for hours, and you wake up and it's only been 10 minutes.
Sure.
So the idea of spending 50 years in a dream world, growing old in a dream world, and then waking up and you're, like, in your mid-30s, but you've already lived all this time, I don't know, that's scary to me. Because, like, how do you rectify that with your own brain?
Which is also what Leo... his character, Cobb, finally, at the end of the movie, finally comes to the conclusion, I need to let you go because we had so much time together. Mm-hmm. It's not like, yeah, she died at a young age, but they
did grow old together.
They grew old together. They spent a lifetime together that a lot of people wouldn't have. And so he finally he realizes at the end of the movie, I need to let you go.
He still has a life to live.
He still has a life to live with his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really, like, yeah, you strip away all the special effects, mm-hmm. all the sci-fi-ness of it all, and it really does end up being like this really emotional love story between these two.
Yeah. This tragic love story.
It is a tragic love story. It is
Sir
a tragic
Chris.
love story.
Sir Chrissy, come on now.
So when they the first place they get into in the dream world during the heist is like a New York City style, even though nothing is based on a real look.
No,
like
it just has
city. It just has that New York look with the cabs and the tall buildings, and Cobb's subconscious is leaking in immediately, and as soon as we get into this world.
Oh yeah, instantly.
Instantly. It's not even like
she's there.
She's there.
Yeah.
Train, like first thing that comes up is the train, and then nobody did their research to find out that Cillian Murphy's character has had
subconscious protection
training.
Yeah. Which, how do you do that? I would like to be able to do that.
I mean, if you're a billionaire, you could probably get
once
some
again the things that the rich get that the rest of us don't.
So yeah, he's got his dream security after them almost immediately because they've been alerted because of the train that's just plowing through downtown. Cobb really screws his friends.
Oh, he totally screws his friend.
He is the biggest fuck you to his team.
Yeah, because he's like, we're going into this, and you guys don't know that the villain of it all
so much.
is my ex-wife who's in my subconscious.
Didn't tell him about Mal.
Nope.
Didn't tell him how dangerous it was for any of them to die.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dangerous that... and he's like, I didn't tell you because then you wouldn't do it. And then I would never see my kids again.
Yeah.
It was so selfish.
He's so desperate to make this heist successful so that he can go back too. So, and I guess it kind of makes sense because he's literally on the plane. He is flying to Los Angeles from Sydney?
Sydney to LA.
Yeah. So he's flying to Los Angeles. He has no choice but to enter a country that will immediately arrest him on a warrant.
Right.
Yeah, he is absolutely desperate because if this heist doesn't go well, he's fucked.
But he could have told them before they even got on the plane.
Yeah, but then would they have backed out, though?
They probably would have backed out.
They probably would have backed
Some
out.
of them definitely would have, no matter how much money you offer, with the idea is if you die in the dream, your brains could turn to scrambled eggs.
Yeah, you will, you'll wake up 8 hours later on the flight, but you'll have lived for thousands of years, and your brain is now essentially Jell-O.
Just Jell-O. We have no idea how bad the results could have been from Ken Watanabe's character.
Yeah, we don't...
Because he wakes up, he looks like he
looks like he's been through it.
He's been there for a couple centuries, probably.
He looks pretty exhausted, but then he kind of snaps out of it.
He does, and he makes the call, and Cobb gets through, and you see him later in baggage claim, and you're like, well, good luck, buddy. And
you can pay for a therapist. Go get a good one.
We're also talking about a guy who wants to create a monopoly of...
Well, he's trying to split up a monopoly, right?
He wants to become the reigning power of power.
Yeah.
Because it's all like this power, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like energy.
Also...
It's like top company in energy, whatever energy that is.
Yeah.
And his competition is
Cillian
Murphy and his dad.
Yeah.
And so he wants him to dissolve his father's company,
split it up,
get it chopped down, so it's not as big of a.
But he also gives.
He's trying to get rid of the competition.
Yeah, but he also gives the reasoning that if Cillian Murphy goes forward, Cillian Murphy is going to build his company into be such a giant company that it'll take over the world. So he's also quote unquote trying to save the world by dissolving this company, because if he does, and I
don't trust these corporate CEOs, owners.
So you're saying that it's a good thing that Ken Watanabe was down there forever because maybe it changed him?
It could have. I think he probably saw some stuff that I don't know. Who knows? It's not that important to the story. It's just interesting to know who we are who the
there's a lot of
who the good guys in quotes are.
There's a lot of vagueness to this movie. There's a lot of just this whole time Leonardo DiCaprio is being hunted by a global corporation that is called Global Corporation or something like that. It's like Global Commands or Global Corp or something, but it's so. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they're from. You only vaguely know why they're going after them is because they Global Corporation hired them to go into Ken Watanabe's brain, and then they weren't able to get the information that they needed, so they failed, essentially. So now Global Corporation's like, well, now you have to die for this, right? Because, of course, that's how it goes. So there's a lot of vagueness to this, the overall world and the bad guys. All the world building is literally in the dreams, whereas, the real world is just vague, global corporate monsters and the police go, right?
And it's a really fun action film. Christopher Nolan does action okay. I think a lot of times his practical effects really make it a lot more fun to watch. I think it's the way his action's shot and the way it's edited that it's not my favorite kind of action. But this one's done in such a way, because of the dream world of it all, really makes it exciting. When Joseph Gordon-Levitt is shooting at the security with his gun, and then Tom Hardy comes up behind him and is like, "You got to dream a little bigger, darling," and pulls out this massive grenade launcher. Yeah. And it's just like, this is the cool part of the action.
And that's the fun of Tom Hardy's character.
It's almost like, it's the same, it's very similar to, because he got his inspiration a little bit from The Matrix, the way going into a program or something, I need guns, lots of guns. And then, they could I need to learn how to fly that helicopter, and they can do it. And that's kind of what this feels like, where I need to dream up a thing, is really clever and fun to watch. Ken Watanabe's character gets shot. They have to all pile into a van and then go for a wild ride through the city. I don't know if it was always planned to jump off that bridge.
I don't think it was.
I think they had another. They had a plan A.
Yeah, the plan A, the kick was different. So they refer to these things as kicks, which bring you out of the dream. And the kicks are like the sensation of falling. We've all fallen in a dream and woken up before we land because it's, you know, you feel it and it's real and it's terrifying.
It feels like you're falling and then but it shocks you awake.
And so that's how they come out of the dream, right? Come out of the sediation. But because Cillian Murphy's subconscious, on the first level at least, is so sort of readily what's the word, it's so heavily protected that, you know, they have to improvise. The first dude has to improvise a lot, and like everybody is, it's like getting 5 stars in Grand Theft Auto and trying to escape the fucking army. You know, it's nearly impossible, and he holds on for as long as he can. Yeah. But I do love when so the whole kick in the first level of the dream is them going off a bridge. And right before he goes off the bridge, when he lifts his, you know, and he flips off the dream bad guys and then reverses the van completely off of a bridge. And then what happens next is the longest free fall for 100 feet ever. It's just, God, that car falls forever. But it has to, because they're in 4 other levels of dreams that they've got to do stuff in and then come out of. And then each level has time differently, and then. It's a lot of...
Which, even though I don't really care for some of the editing as far as the action goes, Lee Smith, who was the editor on this movie, I think he did a really good job when it came to...
flashing around the dreams?
Yeah, going dream to dream, but then when you have all the kicks happening, and Elliot Page's character's like falling from the deep subconscious, all the way back to the van, or into the water by the time she wakes up. I like all that.
The editing of the kicks is very good.
Going back and forth through all the worlds. That's why I feel like this one just works better when it does jump around, even though it is like a pretty straightforward story as far as, you know, A to B.
They do a lot for set dressing that like makes you know, like, okay, the snowy one is the 3rd level. The hotel's the 2nd
changes
level.
Each place is a big enough change that, and they're all going at different speeds. Once the van starts going down, it spends like an hour of the movie slowly falling into the
just
the
the
Alpha
longest
Bridge.
A free fall drop of a van over the course of 100 feet.
You thought Zack Snyder did a lot of slow mo.
Just on nothing but slow motion grain falling gently from a hand for 27 minutes. Yeah,
the fact that Rebel Moon and Inception had the same budget.
Yeah.
And I know,
you know what I saw yesterday?
I know one's like 2023, or at least made in 2022, 23, and then one's 2010.
What I saw yesterday, I was at Target, and I almost grabbed this and threw it in the cart as a gag gift for you, but it was the Rebel Moon, Child of Moon, whatever the first one was called.
Stargiver?
Yeah, no, the first one, Child of Fire or some bullshit like that. But it was the novelization.
Oh, God.
And I haven't seen a film novelization in a long time.
It's been a while.
So the fact that they did one for Rebel Moon made me go, what the fuck?
Target?
It was at Target.
Wow.
Prominently displayed.
They're getting rid of all their physical media, but they're still going to sell a stupid book like...
Yeah, and I love a movie novelization. I think that they're a ton of fun.
There's a bunch that I want to read because of what people have said about them, especially something like the novelization of Star Wars Episode 3. Somebody said that the novelization of that movie makes it so much better.
Okay, so like no joke, I was going to bring up the Force Awakens novelization, and it is so good. Poe Dameron, if you thought Poe was gay before, when you just watched the movies, him in the book, it is unhinged. And you get a lot more of him, so I enjoy that wholeheartedly. But yeah, the novelization for the Star Wars books are above and beyond, already. But yeah, they're all really good. You should definitely check out the novelization for The Force Awakens because it's soups gay.
Something else that I realized, 2 things that I realized in this watching of Inception. One of them was, even though Cobb didn't physically kill his wife and was not responsible for her jumping off that building, even though she did all the work to frame him, he is definitely responsible, and he doesn't get into this at the end because he doesn't tell anybody till the very end of the movie.
He put the idea in her brain.
He's the one who knows that Inception works.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of putting an idea into somebody's deep subconscious to make them, that's like their purpose now. That's the only thing that they'll ever think about. So he's responsible for the way she turned out in the end. The reason that she committed suicide was because he scrambled her brain.
Yes. But he didn't mean to. He was trying to save her.
He was trying to save her because she didn't want to leave the subconscious.
Yeah.
Because once she did it to herself, she was actually the first person to do Inception on herself. Because she put a non-moving top in her safe, which led her to believe that the world she was in was her real world.
Yeah, she hid her totem that reminds her that the world is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then he turned it upside down on her and did the opposite to make her get hit by a train to wake her up.
Well, he didn't make her get hit by the train, but that was a choice, right? Like, how are we going to kill ourselves? I know we're going to lay our head on a train track.
He, in the end, was responsible for her death. Even though it was an accident.
Yeah, he was.
He was responsible for it. The other thing I noticed was Sato.
Mm-hmm. Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, Ken Watanabe's character. He's essentially tagging along with this thing because he wants to make sure that his money that he's spending on this whole project and the deal that he makes with Cobb...
He wants to see the job done.
He wants to see the job done.
Yeah.
But he dies before the job's done. And he goes into the subconscious, not knowing what the outcome of the entire thing was.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time he wakes up, he still doesn't absolutely know.
You don't think Cobb didn't at any point be like, oh yeah, no, we totally succeeded?
So the only thing that leads me to believe that Ken Watanabe trusts Cobb, knows that it happened, was their conversation when he's he's old.
Yeah.
And he's having that conversation. They're having that conversation that they had in the real world before this whole thing about...
We will be young men again.
We will be young men again. And it's something you have to take on as faith. So when he wakes up on the plane... He's essentially just like, all right, I'm trusting you because I didn't actually see it. He doesn't know that Cillian Murphy's character is going to do what they were planning on doing the whole time. Yeah. The point of the movie. And
well, a lot of this movie is about, leaps of faith. So that Ken Watanabe has to have some faith in Cobb.
It's a big, faith is a huge theme in this whole movie.
So, dream number 1's in the city. Dream number 2 is in the hotel, where we talk about, where we get to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt like just kicking ass left, right, and center in the spinny hallway and the zero gravity of it all. And then the third level of the dream is like an icy fortress somewhere out in the some sort of alpine, like James Bond-esque fortress, which I imagine was really fun to shoot. But I really enjoyed the line where Cillian Murphy, when they kind of land in the third dream, he's like, "You couldn't have dreamt of a sunny beach."
I love how upset that you see him get about that.
Because, God, it's got to be bitterly cold. But I found that very amusing. And then that's essentially trying to break into the vault of Cillian Murphy's subconscious, and the vault has his dying dad in it. And the idea that they plant is that your dad actually did love you, even though clearly this guy did not.
Right.
And there's this picture of the father and the son when they were both very young, that's sitting by the bedside of the father's hospital bed, but apparently, like, the dad didn't want, and it doesn't all matter in the end. But the inception is that your dad loved you, and you build something for yourself out of your father's empire. Like, don't follow in your father's footsteps. Build your own path, right? Then there's the fourth level of the dream, which is Cobb's subconscious. It's this fucking basement, and it is a crumbling nightmare zone of terror because Maul's there, and this world is genuinely falling apart. And that's where he has to confront, what he's done to his wife. He has to save the day, and he's got to go find Ken Watanabe, so he even has to go deeper. Eventually, it all kicks back, right? They all wake up. Because you don't see Cobb and Ken Watanabe come back, so to speak. You just see them wake up.
Right.
So you don't really know how long they were down there.
Because even when the van drops into the water, everybody has to... Evacuate.
Yeah, the van, but...
Cobb drowns.
Yes.
And So him and Ken Watanabe are down super deep, and they still have to. In that city world, those characters still have to be there for a while.
Yeah.
They're just sitting around waiting to wake up, because they can't just wake up because of how highly drugged they are.
Yeah.
So, and they talk about this towards the beginning, where there's, I think, a week. They have to spend a week in the city once the job's done. A week in that world is still a long ass time deep down.
And the next thing we see is them waking up on the plane. And it's set to probably the best song Hans Zimmer has ever written, which is Time.
It's a good one.
I mean, the only other one I can think of is from the Da Vinci Code, which that's that song that plays at the end of the Da Vinci Code.
I don't remember that one right now.
I'll play it for you, and you'd be like, "Oh no, I know that one."
Oh, this one. This is you play this
all
the
time.
time.
I genuinely do think that's probably the finest song he's ever written for any of his movies ever. You know, you see Cobb wake up, and he's very confused. I think because he had been down there for so long, right? He's got to get his bearings back, and you know, Cillian Murphy is completely unaware that any of this has happened. He just thought he had a strange fucking dream, right? So he wakes up. They all wake up. They all go and get there. Very little, very little said in terms of, there's very little dialogue. They all go through the airport. They all get their luggage. They all enter customs with no problems. You can tell that Leonardo DiCaprio is terrified the whole time that he's going to get arrested. But nope, he just gets welcomed back into the country. So Ken Watanabe held up his end of the deal. And he's picked up by Michael Cain, his father-in-law, which I'm sorry, but I don't buy that Michael Cain in any way had a hand in the birth of Marion Cotillard. But
Michael Cain's the mother must.
No, she must have been a fucking stoner and French.
And French.
Yeah.
Well, he already works in France, doesn't he? Or no, he works in London.
No, he worked in Paris.
Was it Paris?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe.
Yeah, married a French woman and
had a
raised a daughter
woman
there. And then Cobb's back home with his children. And the whole dreamlight scenario, or the dream scenario, plays out again, where the kids are...
They're in the same position.
Same position, almost same outfits, maybe a little bit older. It's kind of hard to tell.
Hard to tell. They don't really focus on it.
Yeah, and Cobb spins the top, which is his totem, to let him know that he's in the real world.
Yeah.
And then he goes off and goes off to his kids, and the camera pans down and pans in onto the top. We've all seen it, and then the movie ends, right?
Yeah.
You see a slight wobble, but the movie
wobble.
ends. So ultimately, it comes down to, is Cobb dreaming, or is he awake? What do you think, Caveman?
I mean, I've gone back and forth, and even Christopher Nolan's like, I don't know, you decide. He wants to leave it open because it's fun. Because movies are fun when they don't give you a definite answer. Because then it ends up, you end up talking about it for years.
Ever, yeah.
And part of me wants to say that he's still in the dream, that the heist never happened. There's a scene earlier in the film where when he goes to the chemist, because they're looking for a drug that will knock you out for a long ass time, and no matter how many kicks or if you've been killed in the dream, you won't wake up no matter what. So he needs a really strong chemical to do this, and so he asks the chemist, which right now I can't remember the actor's name, but I did like that actor in this movie.
I'm gonna butcher his name, but his name is...
What's the actor's, or what's the character's name?
The character's name is Yusuf, and
Yusuf.
the actor is Dilip Rao.
I like Yusuf in this movie. He's got a great humor, great smile.
He's a very handsome man.
He's one of the characters that doesn't get a lot, since he's the van driver, and that's the one world it's going super slow. So
he was in Drag Me to Hell and the Avatar movie.
Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Drag Me to Hell is a great movie. And so chemist. He's the chemist. He's so Cobb says, "Show me."
Yeah.
He wants an example of how strong this drug is, and so he goes under, and then when he comes out, he spins his top, but then leaves it. He or somebody walks in on him or something, and he has to. The movie doesn't show you it fall or stay.
And this is sometime in the middle of the movie?
It's the scene after he tests the chemical.
Yeah.
So this is just one theory that I've had, because it could go either way. Either the top was going to fall at the end of the movie, and he's back where he belongs. But then there are certain things that just lead me to believe that maybe not, because of him not checking the top when he gets out of that dream in the middle of the movie before they go on the heist. And then the end with the top not falling down, and with his kids kind of being in the same footage is shown again from
same clothes,
the same vision.
But this time they finally look at the camera, though.
Sure.
It's the first time you see them look at the camera. Also,
But he knows what they look like.
Yeah, but he hasn't seen them in so long. He doesn't know what they look like now.
Sure. But do they look like they're older kids?
Yeah.
They also don't really say how many years have gone by. Or maybe they have, and I forgot.
They are played by two different children, on the credits at the very least.
Does it say young this and
then
older that?
Yeah, it says 3 years and 5 years.
Oh,
so,
okay.
20 months and 3 years. So it's, the boy is 20 months to 3 years, and then the girl is 3 years to 5 years. So, and toddlers to older toddlers, like, they grow in size and their face changes for sure, but they're still young, I go by the Michael Cain theory.
Oh.
Which the Michael Cain theory is that when Michael Cain was reading the script, he was kind of confused by what was a dream and what wasn't a dream. So he asked Christopher Nolan, what's going on here? And Christopher Nolan said, when you're on screen, it's the real world. When you're not on screen, it's a dream.
All right.
So Michael Caine's there at the end. I firmly believe that he's back in the real world, that he gets his happy ending. You know me, I'm a sucker for a happy ending, and this guy's Cobb's life has been so fucking tragic up to this point that, yeah, he kind of deserves to just go off with his kids, right?
Just be a devil's advocate.
Which is what you love to do.
Nolan could have also told Michael Caine that just to help Michael Caine better, like help him out a little bit with understanding the script from Michael Caine's point of view.
Well, yeah, but we never see Michael Caine's character in any other dream.
No. But
so we only see him in, quote-unquote, the real life.
I'm just imagining him being in the dream world and getting himself through all this and just imagining it all working out in his dream. But
I'm going to choose to believe in the happy ending.
I'm sure he made it, and it makes it a better movie that he made it.
It absolutely makes it a better film, yeah.
But it's also fun to cut on that top spinning without seeing it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the brilliant thing to do, because here we are all these years later, and we're still talking about it. I mean, it's been 14 years, and we're still like, well, is he in the real world? Is he not? We don't know. And that's the genius of this movie, is that, I mean, this is a timeless film in that, although eventually, not now, but eventually, like, the clothing and the technology will age the movie a little bit, or at least not let people know when it was made, right? But the theme is pretty ageless, and the ability to enjoy it, people are going to sit down for years to come and discuss the spinning top, and that's pretty cool.
So, Maggie, what would you give Inception?
I would give Inception a 4? I'd give it a 4. 4 stars? Maybe 4.5? I'm kind of somewhere in between, because it is a brilliant movie, and it is one of my favorite Sir Christopher Nolan movies. I love the music. I love the acting. Yeah, 4.5. It's a great film. What about you, Caveman?
I was going to say 4.5 as well, because it is, Batman movies aside, it's my favorite Nolan film. You did bring up The Prestige earlier, and I started thinking about it, and then I started thinking, I haven't seen The Prestige.
We need to rewatch The Prestige, yeah. Next weekend?
Yeah, any time we've got free. I love all these movies, but there's something about Inception with even the movie, even the scenes that look like they're CG was just fancy camera work, camera tricks, a lot of practical effects done over CG. And yeah, there were CG elements to the movie, but they don't take over the movie. The writing is really great, the editing, other than some action moments, but for overall, the editing is great. The Wally Pfister, great cinematographer.
Yeah.
Love this early Nolan this early Nolan songs. And, 4.5 as well.
Yeah, it's a great film.
So, Maggie.
Yes, Caveman.
I've got 2 questions for you.
Hit me with them.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
My baby.
Would this movie have been better if Oscar Isaac was in it?
Well, going back to it, sure as hell wouldn't have made it any worse. So yes, go ahead and put just the most gorgeous man to have ever walked the face of this earth in a Christopher Nolan movie. Please. Please, 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 please. Let him be in a Nolan film one day.
Up a little bit too much.
I'm sorry, have you seen him? Ever? Have you seen him recently? He has got... I saw some pictures of him online not too long ago. He's got some like hardcore mutton chops because he's filming a period piece right now. And it is a look, but it is also a look. Oof. And as I was discussing with my best friend Jesse, we were both equally turned on and horrified by these
chops.
These chops that he's got because there's some hardcore mutton chops, but I'd still eat them. So
yeah. He's definitely aging the way Paul Rudd is. Like every
like
year, he just looks better and better.
Oh, and the gray hair.
I don't know how he's...
You're aging pretty well.
You know, I look better than I did when I was a teenager.
This is true. I find you more attractive now than when you were,
I have a picture of me from 19 years old.
Mm-hmm. You look like a young Kylo Ren.
Which is not a compliment.
Adam Driver's pretty hot.
So, question number 2.
Yes.
What character would you have had Oscar Isaac play?
He could have been the chemist. Easily, right? Like, that role was pretty short. It's beefy and he's there a lot, but he doesn't have a lot of lines, so you just get to look at him and his beautiful face. I can't imagine... I mean, that's even hard to say, because I can't imagine replacing anybody else in this film. I do buy Oscar Isaac action star more than I buy Leonardo DiCaprio action star, so he would have made an incredible Cobb. But, he would have made a great Cobb. Oh, and he would have been so upset about the death of his wife. Yeah, he could have been Cobb, and it would have been stunning. And that is this week's episode of Movie Mingle on Inception. We hope you loved it as much as we loved making it for you. As always, you can find us on Instagram and Threads now at MovieMinglePod. You can find us on Letterboxd at MovieMinglePod, where you get to see how I, Maggie, rate all the films that we watch in the order of how much I like them. You can also find our stuff on YouTube now at MovieMinglePodcast. And always you can email us at movieminglepod@gmail.com. We're always very happy to hear from our fans and our friends. We love you all so very much. Feel free to leave a review of 5 stars, or I guess whatever you feel like, across all the streaming platforms that you happen to listen on. And just know that we appreciate any and all engagement that we get, because after 20 episodes, we're still having a lot of fun and living for it. Next week, we've got the Grand Budapest Hotel, which will be fun to see whether or not the music is any better than the music for Interstellar, which I doubt, but we'll see. And it also is our second Wes Anderson movie, and a beloved one, so it'll be nice to revisit it, because I think that Caveman and I have only ever seen it once. But until then, we hope you go out and enjoy this beautiful summer. Go mingle. Bye!
Are you an effective team?
We are an effective team.
Let them fight.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Here on Caladan, we've ruled by air power and sea power. On Arrakis, we need to cultivate desert power.
Welcome, Mr. Beach. What's that bar? I'm a little confused.
Well, we wouldn't want that, would we?
I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Toga, 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 toga.